Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real with Bob and Stacy. You're joining us for our Leaders and Legends segment. And our guest for this segment is Dr. Eric Siegel, former professor and author of Predictive Analytics, The Power to Predict Who Will Click, Buy, Lie, or Die. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Thanks, Bob and Stacy.
So I want to give everybody a little deeper background on Dr. Siegel. As Bob mentioned, he is the author of Predictive Analytics, The Power to Predict Who Will Click, Buy, Lie, or Die. He is also the founder of the Predictive Analytics World Conference Series, 13,000 attendees since 2009. He is a former Columbia University professor who used to sing to his students. I need to make a mental note to ask about that before the end of the interview. And a renowned speaker and educator who's been commissioned for more than 80 keynote addresses across dozens of industries. And he will soon be the keynote at RestCon 2018, a leading restaurant industry conference hosted by Marketing Vitals. So first, explain to us what predictive analytics is and tell us all about your new book.
Well, the title of the book actually serves as an informal definition. It's Predictive Analytics, The Power to Predict Who Will Click, Buy, Lie, or Die. We're generating these predictions per individual about the outcome or behavior. So this is technology that learns from data how to make these predictions in order to optimize all the mass scale things we do as organizations with regard to targeting marketing, fraud investigation. We hear about predictive policing, government operations targeting healthcare. It just sort of all the mass scale operations we do have the potential to be optimized and rendered more effectively as guided by the predictions of the outcome per individual.
Cool. So what is the difference between data science, machine learning, and then predictive analytics?
So that's a great question. There's a lot of buzzwords going around these days. Data science is basically just an umbrella term. Let's do something smart with data. It's subjective. But machine learning and predictive analytics are pretty well defined, and they're more or less synonyms. In most applications of predictive analytics, we mean the use of machine learning. You're learning from the data. The computer is ascertaining what the patterns or generalizations can be drawn. What you can get from historical data learned from the past. Data is actually a recording of things that have happened. It's the experience of an organization as far as how it's interacted with the outside world and which customers did or didn't respond in which ways, which led to negative outcomes such as a customer canceling, and that's in the marketing case, or somebody committing fraud, somebody turning out to be a high insurance claim. All these kinds of outcomes, whether positive or negative, it's helpful to predict them, and you're using machine learning to do that. So those are mostly synonymous terms, predictive analytics and machine learning.
Huh, that's cool. I remember
machine learning similar to...
Go ahead.
Is machine learning similar to artificial intelligence?
These definitely are squarely under the umbrella of AI. AI, artificial intelligence, is also a subjective term. I taught, as someone who taught the AI graduate level course at Columbia University, I'm actually kind of against the term AI because I think it oversells. I don't think the word intelligence is well defined. It's very subjective and doesn't really have a proper place in the realm of engineering and science. People get all excited. They see the Terminator movies. But the fact is, many of the places where people use the term AI, they're actually just referring to machine learning specifically. In other cases, they're just sort of hand-waving.
What's interesting about predictive analytics, I never really understood it until I was reading a book. I think I'm not even positive what the book was, but it was talking about Target, the big department store, and they had a situation where they can predict what people are going to buy based on your past sales, and then they send coupons out to your house, and they had sent a coupon to a young girl for baby items because they predicted she was pregnant, and it created some controversy. But I was blown away when I read that. I'm like, how cool is that? And then I was like, I own real estate companies. I'm like, I wonder if there's software to predict when people are going to buy and sell real estate, which, by the way, there is. But can you give our listeners some examples of how predictive analytics is used in different industries and how it impacts those businesses?
Sure. Yeah, there very much is applications in restaurant. As you said, I'm speaking at this restaurant conference, RestCon 2018. Real estate, as far as which houses are most likely to go on the market and what they're likely to sell for. The example of Target predicting who's pregnant actually came out of a keynote that I invited to come present at our conference series, Predictive Analytics World, and Target presented that as a keynote. The video was available online. I told the New York Times. Charles Duhigg of the New York Times then broke the story on front page New York Times article in his book, Power of Habit. I also cover the story in more detail in my book, Predictive Analytics. Although that's a little bit different because then people are bringing up privacy concerns. If the thing knows I'm pregnant, it's not a medical department, it's a marketing department. Is it going to handle my sensitive data correctly?
Right.
So the ethical issues actually go way beyond that in law enforcement and all sorts of areas. Because this is very powerful stuff. And, you know, as they say it in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Wow. It's mind-blowing, like some of the cool stories that come out of it, and then you don't even think about stuff like what you just said. That's so powerful that's like a medical thing, that now Target knows something that's medical related, and then does that cross the line into HIPAA and other things. So tell us why, we talked a minute ago about machine learning. Why must a machine learn in order to predict?
So the reason it needs to learn in order to predict is the act of prediction is that you're looking at a situation that you've never seen before. You're looking at this particular customer and you're saying, or it could be an employee, for example, and that's another sensitive area. Are you going to quit your job? Do you want your boss to know you're going to quit your job if it was predicted by a computer? But you're looking at that individual. Let's take let's take an employee as an example. Everything you know about the employee, when they were hired, elements of their resume, time of application, you know, their job performance, salary, raises, promotions, everything about an employee, imagine an organization knows. And then based on that, you're saying, well, what do I think are the chances over the next 6 months that this employee is going to hand in the resignation? That situation is defined by all of the characteristics, and they're called variables, about the employee and their prior behavior up to this moment in time. And the only way to sort of apply some kind of set of rules or mathematical formula to that large number of inputs is from a pattern that was somehow derived from lots of prior examples. So learning from data, drawing generalizations from data, that's an absolute necessity when you're getting a computer to automatically optimize how to best make predictions for each new situation that you've never seen before.
Okay, so I know you have some events coming up. We talked about RestCon 2018. There's a conference called Predictive Analytics World. Tell us about the conference and who would go. It seems like this spans potentially every possible industry.
Yeah, it really does. There's such a wide amount of industries. We have the Predictive Analytics World Conference series you just mentioned, excuse me, is the one that I founded, and our primary blowout event in 2018 will be June 3rd through 7th at Caesars Palace in Vegas. For the first time this year for 2018, we're bringing all of the different industry-focused Predictive Analytics World events together at once. So we have it segmented, sort of aligned with the fact that it's such a wide range of applications. So we have a Predictive Analytics World for business, for financial services, for healthcare, for manufacturing. We also have a more technical machine learning conference called Deep Learning World, and that'll be the inaugural event. It's a specific kind of neural network called deep learning. And the bit of those that I just listed, the main umbrella one, sort of more catch-all, which would include restaurants and real estate, et cetera, is the PAW business event. And you know, a big focus there is marketing, because all the verticals use marketing one way or another. So you're trying to predict which customer is most likely to buy to target the marketing. You're also trying to predict which customer you're most likely to lose. So if you have a restaurant and there's frequent return customers, you want to track that and then predict, hey, which of these are most likely to fall off a cliff in the sense that we're going to stop selling to them, they're going to stop returning, at least not with nearly the same frequency. And if we can predict that, we can take action to remedy it. You can intervene, you can offer retention offers or other types of retention activities. That's what marketing does. And that applies to all different industries. So there's a lot of sort of broadly applicable killer apps of predictive analytics that we cover at the event. Predictive Analytics World is the leading cross-vendor commercial event that's focused on commercial deployment, rather than the research side of it.
Mm-hmm. So let's say that somebody listening to the program today is, for example, a business owner, and there's something that they want to predict about their business, whether it is they want to predict the next possible buyer or they want to predict the next possible employee that's going to leave their company. How do you find, number one, how do you figure out if there's a software available that already could potentially predict that? And if there isn't a software available for that, how do you find, how do you hire somebody or find somebody that their job would be to put together an algorithm to figure that out?
That's a great question, sort of how to get started in the field, and you sort of half answered a lot of parts to this, but it really comes first and foremost, it comes down to the data before the software. Do you have the right data set? In many companies, almost all large companies and many, at least medium-sized companies, some small companies, have plenty of examples of prior customers that they contacted and who did or didn't respond, of prior employees who did or did not stick around, whatever these outcomes are. And what you need is enough positive and negative examples in history. So you need whatever the thing you're trying to predict. You usually start with a yes/no, a binary prediction objective, whether positive, negative, did they or didn't they? And you need enough both positive and negative examples from which to learn, and each ends up corresponding to one row of data. And then once you've got the data together, or at least a sense that that data is available and could be pulled together, the choice of software is a hairy one. There's so many competing software, and in most cases, you're not picking a software tool just for that one specific prediction project. They're generally applicable learning methods. So this field of machine learning, which includes things like decision trees and neural networks, those are generally applicable methods that most of the different software solutions embody, and they apply very broadly. They could apply for healthcare, they could apply for law enforcement, they could apply for targeting marketing. The same exact number crunching method that was devised in the research lab, because it's very powerful, it's very broadly applicable. The thing that makes a difference is which set of data you give to it.
Interesting. We only have a couple of minutes left. Do you think schools are using this, to predict which students, colleges, which students they're going to take based on, so that they know that they're going to have higher graduation rates? Are schools using it?
That's a great question. I don't think I've heard of them using it to assess whether to approve a student. That's very much analogous to what we do in workforce analytics, and the military uses this as well, as far as, is this going to be a good job candidate?
Right.
What schools are using it for is simply who is likely to enroll. It's marketing like any other company. They're trying to get the registration fees, which, as you know, are quite high. But then also on behalf of the students, they're very much, and this includes both public education and private, trying to predict which students are at risk of dropping out, not just because they'll lose the revenue, and this also applies to public schools, but because they're on behalf of the students, which students are struggling, which ones are going to either have non-passing grades or are going to actually just stop coming to school and drop out entirely, in order to target intervention. So in marketing, you want to intervene and give a discount. Hey, we love you as a customer. Please don't leave us. Same thing with school. Hey, we see you're struggling. We have limited resources, but we're going to put a resource on you because you're flagged by the computer as higher risk of failing out this semester. So we're going to put some more resources. We're going to do outreach, offer you some of the resources we have to support you as an academic student.
Wow. All of it sounds mind-blowing. So how big do you expect that your Predictive Analytics World Conference will end up being? Sounds like it could be massive.
There should be 1,000 people. It's very much for newcomers and management level as well as hands-on practitioners. Probably about 60% techie hands-on practitioners, but it's a mix. There's sessions that are marked at different levels, and people come together because this is very much an organizational effort. It's not just the hands-on number crunchers. It's also the managers, decision makers, executives have to be involved in these projects.
Wow. Great stuff. We have
actually, you did
just
have one
been
other question, Stacy.
Oh, you reminded
about
me.
Singing
Yes.
to students.
Yeah, tell us about that.
I was singing. I was a professor in the computer science department at Columbia University at turn of the century for a few years. But more recently, a couple of years ago, we released the best ever educational music rap video about predictive analytics, which you can watch at predictthis.org. So that's the name of the rap, predictthis.org.
Wow.
O-R-G. It's only 3.5 minutes long. Everything we covered today is covered in the rap in a way that rhymes. So you try to listen to the lyrics, even though the video will distract you by making jokes about what it does to your social life to be a geek.
Oh, my God. It sounds amazing.
I can't wait to watch.
Yes. Thank you so much. This was Dr. Siegel. He is the writer of the book, Predictive Analytics, The Power to Predict, Who Will Click, Buy, Lie, or Die. Where can people buy the book, and where can they learn more about you?
You can do both at the book's website is thepredictionbook.com.
Okay, great stuff. Thanks again for joining us today, Dr. Siegel.
Thanks very much, Stacy and
Thank
Bob.
you. That's all for this edition of Get Real. Make sure you tune in again next weekend for more.